Hi friends, welcome to another video from dataplatformcentral.com. In this edition, we are going to see something different. We are going to see a beginner tip which will be useful for people who are just starting on cloud-based development. In this edition, we will see how you can develop a SQL Server BI project using AWS as the development environment. Currently, most of the organizations are opting for cloud-based development environment. There are various cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP, Ali Cloud, etc. Most of these organizations are going for the cloud-based development due to the cost factor as well as the ease of redeploying and creating machines, as well as also on cutting down the hardware costs. So it's very essential that in this era we need to have some knowledge on how we can create these projects in a cloud-based environment. So in this video we will look at how a SQL Server BI project can be created in a cloud-based environment by taking AWS as the example. This video explains the step-by-step procedure right from deployment of a resource on a AWS instance up to the installation of required softwares and the creation of a BI project. Now let's look into the video. First, go to a browser and type AWS Management Console, and you'll be provided with a link to connect to the Management Console. Click on the link and it will ask you to log on. Sign in with your credentials. If you have not already created an account in AWS, create the account so that you will be directly led into the home page for the AWS Management Console, on which you can see lots of services. And the service that we will use for this illustration is called the EC2 services. These are VM instances. So we'll be creating a VM inside this, and inside the VM we'll be installing the SQL Server, which is required for the illustration of the temporal data. So let's go inside EC2, and you have an option here to launch a new instance. You can click on the launch instance and you will be provided with the various options for creating the instance. You need to choose a Windows server which comes in the free tier so that it doesn't incur any charges on you. So you can select one of those options. So I'm going to select Microsoft Windows Server 2019 base, which is a part of the free tier. So you can click on select, and it will give you the different options, of which you can choose the micro option, which is a part of the free tier. You can click on review and launch, and then it will give you the details of the instance that you are going to create, the security groups associated with, all the other details. Click on the launch button on it so as to actually launch the creation, and then it will ask you for a key value pair to be used for encrypting and decrypting of your passwords. You can choose an existing key pair if it exists, or you can choose create a new key pair and just give it some name. So I'm going to give you EC2 key pair. So this key pair should be used for decrypting the password, which is used for connecting to this instance. So make sure you keep this handy inside your machine somewhere so that later you can browse to it and use it for decrypting your password. Unless you have this on hand, you will not be able to decrypt the password and use it for connecting to the instance. So make sure you store it safely inside one of your required folders. And now you can click on download key pair, and it will automatically get downloaded to your machine. This file, PEM file that it creates, would be required later for decrypting the password, which is used for connecting. Now click on launch instance. See, now you will get the message like the instances are now launching. So the process has started, and it will take a while before your instances will be up and running. You can just click on the name of the instance and check the progress of that, and it will keep on showing like what is the current process. So currently, if you see, the instance status is in pending, so it will be starting in a while, and once it is up and ready, you will be able to connect to that instance. So wait for some time. You can click on the refresh button and see how it is going. See, now it shows like running. It's in the instance is in running status, but it's initializing. So it will take a little bit of time before you can actually connect to the instance. For connecting to the instance, you can click on the hyperlink which says the instance ID, and it will give you the different details regarding the instance, what is the type of the platform, the launch time, the owner, all the other details will be given. Also it will have details on the security aspects of the instance. So for this time we are only interested in this button which allows us to actually connect to the instance. So click on that and you will be given with two options. One is a session manager, another one is the RDP client. So because this is a Windows server, we'll be using the RDP client to connect to the instance. Go to RDP client and you can always download the remote desktop file. So you can just click on that remote desktop file. Automatically the RDP client will be downloaded to your machine, which you can see in your downloads bar. So once this is downloaded, you can then click on the get password. This is the step where you would require that PEM file that you saved in the earlier step, the key value pair, which is used for decrypting this password. If you don't have that file handy in this step, you will not be able to generate back your password. So click on the get password link and it will take some time before which the password is actually generated. So you will be provided with a message like please wait for some time before the password gets generated. So you need to wait patiently until the password becomes available for you to connect. Now the password is ready and you can see that it is now associated with this key value pair which you have saved before. So what you need to do now is like you need to browse to the location where you have saved the EC2 key pair. In my case, I have saved it to the downloads forum. To go to the downloads folder and you can see the EC2 key pair. Just select that, it will automatically get the data from it, and you can then click on decrypt password. Once you have this information from the key value pair, you can click on decrypt password and automatically the password will get decrypted and it will be shown to you. Now you can click on this icon to save the password. So the password will now get copied. Now click on the RDP file client that you have downloaded earlier and click on connect. It will ask you for the password. You can paste the password which you have copied now and click on OK. This will take you to the machine, the actual VM which you have created. Now you can click on don't ask me again to avoid this pop-up again which says something on the certificate, which is a general warning, and you can click on yes. So now you will be physically connecting to the VM that you have created inside the AWS instance. Now once the machine comes up, the first thing is to make sure that you turn the enhanced security to off. So wait for the instance to come up. It will automatically set up your personalized settings based on your administrator user. So wait a while before the things are all done. Yeah. Now the machine is up. So you can now go and click on server manager and you have to turn off the enhanced security. Click on the local server. Once this comes up, click on the local server option and in that you can see IE enhanced security configuration. It's on now. You have to turn it off. Turn it off for both the administrators and the users and click on OK. So once you do this, the enhanced security configuration will be turned off for the administrator and the other users. Once this is done, the next option is to install the SQL Server. So for that, open a browser window, just type SQL Server and you will be provided with the download link for the SQL Server. Remember to choose the developer edition, which is free for development and testing activities. So go to the developer edition, click on the download now button and automatically your download should start in a while. You can choose the option run to run the software from the downloaded. So now the developer edition starts running. You can choose the basic installation and click on accept for accepting the agreement, and then you can click on install to do the actual installation. It will apply all the rules and all the steps and it will proceed in installing the developer edition onto your VM that you have just created. It's going to take a while, so you have to wait patiently until the installation is complete. Depending on the strength and the speed of your connection, the time for the downloading the SQL Server and installing it may vary. You can always see the progress as it goes on. So it's now downloading the installation package. Once it's downloaded, it will auto install the package and make sure that your SQL Server instance is set up. So wait patiently until it completes all the steps. So now the download is successful and it has started automatically installing the downloaded file. You can see the progress of the installation as it moves on. Wait for the installation to be complete. And once this installation of the instance is complete, we'll go ahead with the installing the client tool for connecting to the instance. Please note that in this step, we are only installing the services, which sets up the actual instance. After that, you have to install a different client program, which can be used for connecting to this instance, which is running in this particular server. Okay, now the installation of the SQL Server developer edition is complete. And now it shows the details of the instance name, the connection string, and other details which might be required if you are trying to remotely connect to this instance from another application. In this case, we are not going to do that. We'll be directly connecting to the instance from a client program that we are going to install in the same machine itself. So for that purpose, we need to choose the install SSMS, or SSMS stands for SQL Server Management Studio, which is the client tool for connecting to the SQL Server instance which is running on this machine. So click on install SSMS and then it will take you through the steps which is required for installing the SQL Server Management Studio. In the page that it leads to you, there is a link called download SQL Server Management Studio. Click on that link to download the SQL Server Management Studio program, and when prompted, click on run. In a while, the program will start running and installing the SQL Server Management Studio program on this machine. And you will be provided with the prompt for starting the installation of the SQL Server Management Studio and Azure Data Studio. These two are the client tools which can be used for connecting to SQL Server instance. Now click on install so as to start the installation. Automatically it will start loading the packages and continuing with the installation of the client tool. You can see it installing the different packages which is required for the client tool, and just keep on looking to the overall progress and make sure it's completed. Okay, the installation of the SQL Server Management Studio is now done, and it asks you to restart your machine. So you can click on the restart and allow it to restart so that the changes can take effect. Automatically you will be disconnected from the instance, and then you can again go back to the AWS console and try to connect to the instance again after a while. Just wait for some time because it is going to take a while before it gets connected again. After a while, once the server is back up, we can try connect to the server. So go to again connect to the instance and then click on the remote desktop file that you have downloaded, and once prompted you can copy and paste the password that you have seen. Just paste it, click on OK to connect to the server. Once it's connected, you can go to start, find out SQL Server tools and click on Management Studio to start the Management Studio. It will automatically give you the name of the instance to connect to. That is the default instance within the machine which you have installed. Wait for it to come up, and it will automatically have the instance name populated inside the server box, and you just need to connect to the server. The instance name is automatically populated. Just click on connect to connect to the instance. This will be a totally blank instance without any databases within it. So if you expand databases, it will not have any user-defined databases at this moment. We need to create a user-defined database for using in local test. Right click on the database and choose new database, and you can name it accordingly. So I am going to name it test migration. So let's name it test migration and click on OK so that the database will get created. Let's wait for some time. Once the database is getting created on the background, once it's created, if you expand databases, you can see the database test migration. To implement the SQL Server BI project, we need to install the SSIS tool, which is the ETL tool to be used for this particular scenario. So for installing SSIS, which is a component within SQL Server, we need to install Visual Studio. SSIS packages are developed using Visual Studio environment. So for this purpose, Go to a browser and search for Visual Studio, and you'll be taken to the page for Visual Studio download. Once the page loads, click on the free download button under the community edition of Visual Studio 2019. This will automatically navigate you to the download page for the community edition, and a pop-up will come asking you whether to run or save the file for installing the Visual Studio. So you can either choose to run it or you can choose to save it to your desktop for later running. So we will choose to save it, and it will automatically get scanned and downloaded to your preferred download folder. You can check the progress of the download by going to your download windows of your browser. Once the download is complete, you can click on Run to start running the installer for installing the Visual Studio 2019 version. The installer will start installing the 2019 version onto your machine. Start with prerequisite checks, and then it will automatically start installing the software. So just wait and keep on following the instructions which is shown in the wizard. The Visual Studio installer is now up. Now we need to choose the components that we want to install. So for our illustration, we would require creating an SSIS package which is part of Integration Services project. So we need to first install Ssdt or SQL Server Data Tools, which is the integrated development environment used for creating SSIS packages. Ssdt has a type of project called Integration Services project, which will be used for creating the required SSIS packages. So we need to now search for SQL Server Data Tools. SQL Server Data Tools are part of data storage and processing toolsets. So when you select the data storage and processing toolset, you can see on your right side the tools which are part of it. So here we require only SQL Server Data Tools, so you can uncheck the other two and click on Install so that it starts installing the SQL Server Data Tools component, which is part of the Visual Studio installation. Wait for a while until the Visual Studio gets completely installed. Once it's successfully installed, you will be provided with the screen for starting the project. Once you see the screen, this means that your installation has been successful. Now for creating a new project, we need to click on Create New Project link. So you'll be provided with different types of project templates here. As specified before, here we need to start on a database project. So click on SQL Server Database Project and click on Next. And it will automatically provide you with a solution, and it will autofill it with some names, default names like database 1. If you want, you can choose it to be the same, or if you want, you can change it, and click on Create. This should create the template for database project in a while. Once the project template is loaded, the next step is to install the extension for creating Integration Services project. For this purpose, go to Extensions, Manage Extensions from the top menu, and in the extensions window that gets loaded, search for Integration Services project, and you will be provided with the option for creating the SQL Server Integration Service projects. Click on Download to download the extension. The extension should be instantaneously loaded. Now we have to run and install the extension. So click on Run, click on OK when prompted. As the wizard continues, click on Next, and when it's prompting, start the install. So it will prompt for the closing of some opened softwares like the Visual Studio. So you have to go and close down the existing Visual Studio environments for the installer to proceed. So close down the existing environments. Once closed, click on OK and proceed with the installation. It's going to take a while to close down the background processes. So wait until all the processes are closed before you start the installation. And once everything is closed, the installation should start instantaneously, and you can look and see for yourself the progress of the installation in the wizard. Wait until you see the setup completed window, which indicates that the installation of the SQL Server Integration Services component has been successfully completed. Once this is done, close the window, go and launch the Visual Studio from your Start menu. click on Visual Studio 2019. It's gonna take a while for the first time use, so wait patiently until the environment gets loaded, and you have the option again, create a new project. Click on create a new project, and then you will be provided with the options for creating integration services project. Now there are multiple options available here. Integration services Azure enabled, integration services project, integration services import project wizard. So we need to choose integration services project. That is the second option. The first option is used when you want to create and deploy an SSIS package onto the Azure. In this case, we are not going to deploy it to Azure. We are going to create a package and run it within the VM itself. This is just an illustration. In the actual case, if you want your package to be automatically executed in Azure environment and to deploy it inside Azure, you need to choose the first option. So in this case, we are choosing the second option and then click on next. Again, it will prompt you for a name of your project. You can give the name of your choice, or you can keep it in the default way, which will be integration services project 1. Click on create and wait for the environment to create the integration services project template for you. It will take a while creating the project, and the project will get loaded with a template for creating your package. If you see, there will be a file called package.etssx. This will be your template for creating the SSIS package. Inside this, you will be adding the required tasks to perform your required illustration. And once everything is complete, you will be saving it as a .dtsx file, which indicates a integration services package. And you can change the default name from package to any name of your choice once you have completed your tasks.